The old man's final words were not a comfort, but a ragged, desperate warning. His breath hitched in his throat, a dry rattle in the cavern of his chest. "Don't open the locket," he rasped, his fingers gnarled and cold as ancient roots, clutching my wrist with surprising strength. "No matter what you hear, promise me." He died moments later, his eyes wide and locked on the silver heart I now held in my palm. It was a family heirloom, he'd always said, passed down through generations. But the raw, undiluted terror in his final gaze felt too fresh, too immediate for a simple memento. For a week, the locket sat on my bedside table, a silent, ornate paperweight. It was heavier than it looked, cold to the touch, and I found myself tracing the intricate floral engravings, feeling a strange pull towards it. I told myself it was just grief, a morbid fascination with my grandfather's last obsession. The first floorboard creak, the first sigh of wind against the window pane, I dismissed as the usual groans of an old house settling. Then came the whispers. It started so faintly I thought I was dreaming, a silken thread of sound woven into the oppressive, dead-of-night silence of my apartment. "Let me in." The voice was a child's, impossibly soft and pleading. I sat bolt upright in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. The room was empty, the street outside deserted, yet the sound had been so clear, so intimate, as if whispered directly into my ear. It seemed to emanate from the silver heart on the nightstand. My rational mind screamed at me. Auditory hallucinations? A textbook symptom of grief-induced stress. I tried to ignore it, burying my head under the pillows. But night after night, the whispers returned, growing more insistent, more articulate. The child's voice would weave tales of profound loneliness, of being trapped in the cold and the dark. It knew my name. Soon the whispers were no longer confined to the night. I'd be washing dishes and hear a faint sigh behind me. I started seeing things too, a fleeting, child-sized shadow darting just at the edge of my vision, a single, perfect handprint appearing on a steamy bathroom mirror, only to vanish before my fingers could touch it. The temptation to open the locket became a physical, gnawing hunger. The child's voice, no longer just a whisper, began to paint beautiful pictures in my mind, a siren song against the gray canvas of my life. It promised an end to my suffocating loneliness, a friend to share the silence. I saw sun-drenched meadows filled with laughter, felt the warmth of a hand slipping into mine. It felt so real, so much more vibrant than my sterile, solitary existence. My grandfather's panicked warning became a distant, fading echo, easily drowned out by the sweet, intoxicating melody of the promises. One night, the tone shifted. The pleading was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp command. "Open it. Now." A wave of pure, malevolent energy washed over me, so potent it felt like a physical blow, chasing the warmth from the room. The beautiful images in my mind shattered like glass. For the first time, I felt not pity or curiosity, but a primal, paralyzing fear. The sweetness had been a mask, and it had just slept. Scrambling out of bed, I snatched the locket from the table. My fingers, slick with a sudden cold sweat, fumbled with a tiny, intricate clasp. The whispers erupted, no longer a single voice, but a chorus of ecstatic, piercing shrieks that vibrated through the metal, up my arm and into the core of my being. It was the sound of a cage door groaning open. With a final, desperate click, the locket sprang apart. Silence. There was no monstrous apparition, no puff of spectral smoke. Inside, nestled against the worn, deep purple velvet, were two miniature portraits. On the left was a faded, sepia-toned photograph of my great-grandmother, a stern-faced woman I'd only ever seen in albums. On the right was me. It wasn't a photograph. It was a perfect, impossibly detailed miniature painting, my own eyes wide with a silent, painted scream, my mouth open in a rictus of terror. Every detail was exact, from the small scar above my eyebrow to the specific shade of fear I now felt. A searing, crushing pain lanced through my chest, and I looked down, but I wasn't looking down at my chest. I was looking out. My hands were no longer fumbling with the locket. They were pressed against the inside of it, the world beyond framed by the silver heart. The room around me was gone, replaced by a suffocating velvet darkness. I could see my apartment, my own body standing there, a horrifyingly vacant expression on its face. From the now gaping locket held in my own hand, a small, shadowy figure of a child began to climb out. It solidified as it emerged, taking on form and substance in the lamplight. It turned its head, and a slow, predatory smile curved its lips as its eyes met mine. It raised my hand, the one not trapped within the silver prison, and gave me a small, triumphant wave. The whispers had stopped. They were outside now, and I was in. My grandfather's warning hadn't been about what was inside the locket. It was a warning about what the locket did. It didn't keep something contained. It was a doorway, a trap. It pulled you in, and in your place it let something else out. And from my new ornate prison, I could only watch, screaming without a voice, as the child began to explore its new home, my home, with my own two hands.